All right, let's talk about tennis, but not just about serves and volleys. Today, we're looking at how the entire sport is being completely rewritten, not by the players on the court, but by the code behind it. We're way past just keeping score. We're in a world now where every single swing, every step, and yeah, even every thought can be captured, analyzed, and fine-tuned. It's a full-on revolution, and it's changing the very soul of the game. And all of this leads to one massive, kind of sci-fi question. Can we actually engineer the perfect tennis player built from the ground up using just pure data? I know, it sounds like something out of a movie, but the technology to make it happen, it's not coming soon. It's already here, and it's changing everything. So where's the first place we're seeing this massive shift? Right on the sidelines, in coaching. For, forever, coaching has been an art. It's all been about experience, intuition, a coach's gut feeling. But now, that art is meeting some really hard science. Your next coach? Well, they might just be an algorithm.
Think about it like this. A human coach, no matter how amazing they are, sees the game the way we do. But an AI using computer vision, it's capturing thousands of data points every single moment. It sees movement in ways the human eye physically can't. It's not just watching the game, it's decoding it.
So how does this whole thing work? Well, it's basically a three-step process. First, you've got high-speed cameras that capture every tiny detail of a player's movement. Then, the AI models get to work, doing a deep dive into the biomechanics. We're talking joint angles, racket speed, body rotation, the whole shebang. And finally, and this is the real magic, the system gives the player specific, actionable feedback they can actually use to get better. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. A great human coach might tell you to snap your wrist more. And that's good advice. But it's based on a feeling, right? The AI coach, on the other hand, gives you a cold, hard, measurable target. Increase your peak wrist supination velocity by 15%. Now you know exactly what to work on, and you know exactly when you've achieved it. And listen, this goes way beyond just fixing your forehand. AI is being used across the entire sport. It's refining the mechanics of a serve. It's classifying player skill levels with scary accuracy. It's predicting who's going to win a match. And it's even suggesting strategy changes in real time during a game. Okay, so AI is optimizing the physical world. But what happens when technology lets you build an entirely new one? We're talking about virtual reality now, which is creating something that's basically a flight simulator, but for tennis players. And let's be really clear here. This is not about playing a fun little video game. For elite athletes, VR is a dead serious training tool. It's a completely controllable environment where you can zero in on specific skills and just drill them over and over and over, with a kind of precision that's literally impossible to get on a real court. And the ways they're using it are just incredible. It's used for cognitive training, forcing players to make split-second decisions again and again. Research shows it can actually improve your balance. It's a super safe way for athletes to rehab after an injury, and get this, you can practice 1,000 serves without ever feeling it in your arm. This quote just nails it. The two key words there are controlled and repeatable. On a real court, no two shots you face are ever exactly the same, but in VR, you can face the exact same 120-mile-per-hour serve as many times as you need to, until your reaction is just pure unconscious instinct. And this isn't just some theory, okay? The data is there. One study with young tennis players found that a targeted VR training program boosted their decision-making accuracy by a whopping 18%. That is a massive, tangible leap. That's the kind of improvement that wins championships. So, we've seen how AI analyzes the player from the outside and how VR creates whole new worlds to train in. Now let's look at how technology is getting, right under the skin, turning the athlete's own body into a non-stop stream of super high-fidelity data. This table breaks it down nicely. You've got smart rackets with sensors inside that track your swing speed and exactly where the ball hits the strings. That gives you incredible insight into power. Then you have these tiny little sensors on your body, called IMUs, that map out how your limbs are moving, telling you how efficient you are. Even the clothes you wear are getting smart, tracking heart rate and breathing to monitor how hard you're working and how you're recovering. And this, right here, is the real game changer. We're moving beyond just the results. Video can tell you what happened. You missed the shot. But this deep biomechanical data, it tells you how and why it happened. Maybe your shoulder rotated 5 degrees too early. Maybe your energy levels dipped just 10% in that third set. It's a whole new level of understanding. Now, all this data is fantastic for the physical side of things, but what about the mental game? You always hear great athletes talk about getting in the zone, right? That almost magical flow state where everything just clicks. For centuries, we've just assumed that's something you can't measure. Which brings us to a pretty fascinating question. Can you actually use data to measure a mental state? Can you put a number on something like focus or intuition or being in a state of flow? Incredibly, the answer seems to be yeah. Researchers are actually developing systems, sometimes called psychware, that use the same motion sensors you'd find in a normal smartwatch. A deep learning model then analyzes the tiny little micro patterns in a player's movements, their smoothness, their rhythm, and from that, it can predict, with remarkable accuracy, whether that player is in a flow state. They are literally putting a number on the zone. It's wild. So you've got AI coaches, you've got VR training, you've got sensors that can practically read an athlete's mental state. So where's all of this going? What's the next big frontier? What's the next grand slam for technology? Well, the ultimate goal, the thing that all of this is building towards, is the creation of a digital twin. And that is exactly what it sounds like, a complete, dynamic, data-driven virtual copy of an athlete. Just think about that. Your digital twin would combine everything. All that biomechanical data from the wearables, all the tactical patterns the AI has figured out, your cognitive scores from VR training, and your real-time body stats from sensors. It would be a complete virtual you. And once you have that, the possibilities are they're almost limitless. You could run thousands of match simulations against a digital twin of your next opponent to find their weakest spots. You could predict if you're at risk for an injury before it happens. And you could create training programs that are so personalized, they literally adapt to your body's needs in real time. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought. In a future where every single player is guided by a perfectly optimized digital twin, does tennis just become a science, a game of pure engineering? Or will there always be room for that unquantifiable spark of human spirit, of grit, of heart? That's the real question, isn't it?